Hello everyone, Loremaster Sotek here, back with another episode of the Greenskin Q&A, and we are very much near the end. So after this episode, this one might be a little shorter than usual. We'll see how many questions there end up being. But after this episode, there are only 3 more episodes. That's it! So those 3 episodes may be longer than usual, because basically I'm going to take the last 3 subjects, which are Greenskins and their relations to other races, special character based questions, and then 40k based questions versus like 40k versus fantasy kind of questions. And those are each going to be their own video because so many of those questions basically repeat each other that I think it'll be easier to just like slap them together based on context. And that'll be it. The Greenskin Q&A will be over. And in the last episode, which is the 40k episode, I will announce who the next Q&A race is. And we might change up how we did it this time based on the sheer volume of questions. Just because this ended up, this is like a 15, 16 episode series. So we'll play around a little bit. But in any event, let's go ahead and get into today's remaining kind of miscellaneous questions. And then we are on to the final few days. So this will be the last week of Greenskins. Alright, first up is from the Mysterious Man, who asks, I know in the game Brettonians have orc incursions or whatever instead of rebellions, but was it actually like that in the lore? If so, was there ever a notable event where an orc waaagh ever threatened one of the Brettonian kingdoms? So yes, that happens all the time. Like the primary enemies of the Brettonian kingdoms are Beastmen, Skaven, and Greenskins, I would say. Those are kind of the 3 races that tend to attack them on a just goofily regular basis. You could kind of throw Dark Elves in there as well at certain times of year. But as far as has an orc waaagh ever threatened a kingdom? Definitely. Bretonnia has had many scenarios where Greenskins have proven to be exceptionally problematic. One of the 2 really famous instances that come to mind is that when the Brettonian kingdom was founded, one of its primary antagonists... So, for those that aren't aware, when the Brettonian kingdom was founded, it was basically all the dukedoms were kind of their own identity, and then Gilles le Breton went around and rallied everybody together, much like Sigmar did for the northern tribes. And Gilles and his companions, as they were known, went around just kicking asses. And I think there were 12 famous events in Gilles' little crusade. And at the end of it, because the Greenskins were like the biggest, nastiest threat in a lot of that, he fought a bunch of people. He fought all sorts of different races. But the Greenskins were a notable antagonist, and the Greenskins were the ones who actually killed Gilles le Breton. There was in the final climactic battle against an orc invasion, which the Brettonians did claim victory, Gilles was shot by a spear chucka, which is like a big bolt. It's like a really crappy goblin bolt thrower, but one of them just got freakishly lucky and shot him and mortally wounded him. And he was taken by the Lady of the Lake later, and then, became the Green Knight. And that's actually why Brettonians have such a bad relationship with shooting weapons. Like, they really look down on it as being dishonorable and a bunch of other stuff. It's because it was the only weapon that could basically hurt Gilles le Breton, because he was borderline invincible in close combat. So the only way he was able to be taken down was sheer dumb luck from a goblin war machine, which is fitting for Bretonnia and the luck that they have. The second time is that the Brettonians actually attempted to have a very rapid expansion to the east, which is what resulted in giving us the border princes. So the Brettonian kingdoms are at the western edge of the continent, and what they did was they went down and around through Estalia, and they had the whole Crusades in Araby, and then they kept pushing east back up on the northern continent to the point that they went all the way across what we now know as the border princes and founded the border princes, and they tried to keep going, but eventually they pushed so many Greenskins back that the Greenskin Greenskins are kind of like a drink that you shake up. The more pressure you put on them, the more likely it's going to explode and you're going to have a bad time. And that's what happened. And I think it was Morglum Necksnapper was the name of a war boss who basically crushed a massive Brettonian force. Like, he just annihilated them and threw them back. And he told... He's very famously quoted as saying, "Go tell the king that the east is green," basically saying, you know, this is our turf, you don't get to be here. So the Brettonians got annihilated by Necksnapper, but thankfully he never came back west. But yeah, anyway, we got another question here from the mysterious man, and this one is, how does Greenskin magic rank in terms of that to High Elves or Lizardmen? So, like we've covered in previous episodes that focused almost exclusively on magic, it depends on the size of the waaagh. But generally, Greenskins are around medium tier when it comes to power level in regards to magic across all races. So they're notably below tier when compared to High Elves or Slann. You'd find them in the ballpark of like human wizards or lower tier Skaven sorcerers, stuff like that. Though there are exceptions, and obviously if there's a big waaagh going, then the Greenskins are like top tier when it comes to magic power. Next up, we've got a question from White Knight 16 who asks, has there ever been a case where some human lord bribed some Greenskin horde to go pillage a rival to their power, either through gold or by declaring them to be a tougher fight? Not like that particular example, no. Maybe in the really old lore, but in more modern lore, bribing Greenskins is very difficult. Now, tricking Greenskins is very easy. There have been Greenskins who have been manipulated by either dwarves, humans, vampires, elves, especially elves, to they have been tricked many times to attack somebody that the person doing the tricking wanted to get rid of. Like, the wood elves plenty of times have had an orc horde like go into the Athel Loren during a certain time of year, and when the trees were lively, like spring or fall, and the wood elves either didn't want to deal with it or didn't have a reliable way to deal with it in open battle, so they just used the trickery of the forest to basically dump the Greenskins out on top of somebody else, and make it their problem. Or, you know, dwarves will, we've talked about this in a prior video, I know, you know, trick Greenskins into running into some kind of horrible monster, like accidentally upsetting a cave that has a chimera, not a chimera, but a manticore or a griffin or a hippogriff in it, so that the Greenskins get slaughtered or at least wounded. And that stuff like that happens all the damn time because Greenskins are not picky. They'll just fight whatever presents itself. That being said, it would not surprise me if there has been, say, a border prince lord, or a straight up border prince who managed to get some kind of relationship going with a band of like goblins. Goblins you have a chance to get into diplomacy with. Orcs are generally too impatient and too stupid to listen to something along those lines where you could actually work on an arrangement. You just need to outright trick them into attacking your opponent. Goblins you could negotiate with if you had the patience and you were rotten, you know, if your soul was rotten enough to be able to deal with such creatures. But it certainly could happen, but there's not any like well-documented case of a human lord bribing Greenskins. Greenskins have been bribed, but generally it's by like chaos dwarves or ogres or Skaven. Those are generally the only races that are able to have like an easy communication with Greenskins. Some warriors of chaos have managed it. Of the order races, definitely not. But there you go. Next question comes in from Chosen of Khaine, who asks, has there ever been a major duel between a vampire and a Greenskin? So what I'm assuming what you're asking me is if there's been like a really famous duel between a famous vampire and a famous Greenskin. in which case the answer is no. There hasn't been any kind of really awesome showdown like that. However, Greenskins and vampires have conflicted an absurd amount of times. Probably the most famous instance of a Greenskin fighting a vampire, and we like know a lot about it, is when Ushoran, who is the father of the Strigoi bloodline, died. He met his demise defending his capital, which is the city of Morkhaine, from a huge savage orc waaagh. Like, we're talking one of the largest waaghs in history, and easily the largest savage orc waaagh ever, anywhere on the planet in history, came barreling down on him. And instead of trying to retreat or get a good... There's a lot of shenanigans that led up to the whole situation, a lot of which had to do with Neferata. But basically, Ushoran's enemies played him really, really well. Neferata being the key figure into causing a situation where all the Greenskins basically got funneled into one super waaagh and ran straight into him. And because of that... because the orcs had been pushed out of the region by Morkhaine. So when they returned in mass, and they actually were organized in mass, it was bad. And Ushoran and his vampire human kingdom just got completely demolished. And he very, very famously fought on the walls of Morkhaine, where he battled against the savage orcs until... I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's discussed in Master of Death, but I cannot... No, it's definitely not Master of Death. It might be discussed in a later book. But if I can remember correctly, it was either a war boss or a savage orc war boss or a savage orc shaman that managed to kill him. But it was after he was abandoned by everybody else. So Abarash, Wazoran, Neferata, those three, which that's... Vlad never teamed up with the other four outside of their origin in Nehekara, but the other four were like all together in Morkhaine for a bit, which was crazy, and there's some really fun books about it. But yeah, that's where Shorn died. Allegedly died. But it seems likely that he died. Now, whether he came back later is a matter of speculation, but there you go. Next up, we have Buttmunching Penguins. And this question is, would Greenskins lore-wise make sense as an enemy in Vermintide II fighting alongside the Chaos Beastmen and Skaven? Fighting alongside them? No, unfortunately not. Greenskins have zero love for the creatures of chaos and are basically a wild third faction that just attacks everyone that they can get their hands on. So for Vermintide 2 and for the end times specifically, and what Vermintide's story is about, the Greenskins do not make sense as an enemy to toss in there that you would just have as a part of everything else. Now, if they wanted to make some separate maps that had Greenskins, that would make sense. But since I'm already on the topic, I will say that if you were looking for remaining factions to join Vermintide 2 that the players would fight against, the Dark Pact, which is the whole situation with Nurgle that the Skaven and the Warriors of Chaos have teamed up about, the third faction would most likely be the Undead, because and the Demons of Nurgle, obviously, but I kind of count Demons and Warriors in the same. Demons, Warriors, and Beastmen kind of got combined into just Chaos during the end times. When Nurgle marched out, because... Oh, gosh. So, end times are split into 5 parts. Second part is purely about Nurgle invading the Empire, and that's what Vermintide is about. Vermintide is all about the super invasion of... or what Nurgle's combined army looked like. It takes place a little bit before that, but that's what it's about. And Nurgle's super army was Warriors of Chaos, Demons of Nurgle, Beastmen, and Undead. And so that, and that's because some of the Mortarchs outright betrayed Nagash, which are, the Mortarchs are Nagash's like super generals. A couple of them outright betrayed him to join up with Nurgle. Most notably the Nameless, aka Drakenfels, teamed up with Nurgle. and then Nurgle resurrected Isabella von Karstein as his own champion, who of course is Vlad von Karstein's wife. And she was a super freakishly powerful undead that had a greater demon of Nurgle inside of her. So it would not... I'm personally expecting them, if they do release another big update like the Winds of Magic, to add in a whole nother enemy race to all the maps. I think it'll be undead. But that's just my opinion. Next up, Demon Dave. Question: what do orcs think of when and okay, so he's asking what do they think of reproductive organs since they don't have their own. Greenskins have enough knowledge to very infamously make very crude and unflattering gestures to their enemies or rivals. Plus, we don't know for sure if Greenskins just have private parts or not. Like, we don't know if they have sexual organs and they just don't use or need them, or if they just have nothing down there except for what they need to, like, defecate and urinate. Games Workshop never got that nitty-gritty to explain the situation. Because they don't need sexual organs, but they would need organs that allow them to urinate and defecate. So presumably they have those parts, they just don't use them the same way we do. But I will say that they do seem to have them, because it is noted, at least in Dwarven culture, that if you hit a Greenskin in the crotch really hard, it will handicap them just as hard as if you hit a person in the nuts. Like, you can kick an orc or a goblin right between the legs, and if you're strong enough so that they feel it, they're gonna go down really fast, and give you a good chance to finish them off. Now, and that could just be the writers of those particular stories didn't know that and didn't care, or it could be that they do have the parts and it's just weird. But I should note that this question and this point actually plays into a major reason, which we talked about yesterday, why being captured by goblins is like the worst. Because goblins have a noted sadistic and morbid fascination with exploring male and female genitalia with their knives and other horde implements just for fun. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. But that being said, they don't seem to care that much outside of that. They just view it as something to either attack or whatever. To Greenskins, the only thing that matters, the only thing that they would care about as far as organs go would either be something that would cause you a lot of pain, or something that would, like, if they stabbed it, would explode or do something really crazy visually that they could enjoy. But it wouldn't be good for you either way. Then we've got Jacob Coe here. Do you think the Greenskins could defeat the Skaven in an all-out war if the two races unified under powerful leaders? Or is your vote for a Ratman victory? So, if the Greenskins and the Skaven went toe-to-toe in a no-holds-barred all-out war, like total war, just two complete crazy species going for ultimate victory, then assuming magically the planet was not destroyed in the ensuing conflict, it's actually very likely that the Greenskins would come out on top due to how the waaagh works. Because the more Greenskins you have in an army involved in a battle, the more powerful their magic becomes. So if you united the entire planet's worth of Greenskins into an army against anybody, they would probably win. Just because shamans like Wurzag and Skarsnik's right-hand guy would be literally unstoppable. Like, the only way you'd be able to beat them is hope that just with all the magic they're using, that they lose control of it and kill themselves, which would probably happen a lot. But there are so many of them, and their magic is so devastating when it's used that I just would not see the Grayseer clan, especially because the Grayseers, there's a very limited number of them. There's only 166 of them at any given time because it's 13 times 13. I think that's the number. But there's like there's only, is that right? Wait, no, that's not right. I'd have to do the math. But anyway, wait, no, that is right. 169? It doesn't matter. But there's only that many Grey Seers. And the Warlock Engineers are powerful, but they're not as powerful as the Grey Seers when it comes to magic, generally. And even though there are a lot of them, most of them are useless. And so when you have these two, it's just not a scenario that anybody really matches with the Greenskins. Because most races start to run into problems when you unite all of them into a single fighting force. Especially like the Skaven. Skaven are so prone to just backstabbing and just constant bullshit to try and put themselves ahead. Even if you got them into a pure everybody versus everybody scenario of two races, they would inevitably start hurting themselves, which they do every time. That's the only reason the Skaven lose every single time throughout their entire history. Even in the end times, the Skaven would have lost if it weren't for Archaon destroying the world. Like, if Archaon had failed and the final Chaos Portal hadn't opened, a lot of the world was, like, devastated. Like, the entirety of the new world was just gone. But most of the old world would have survived. I don't know how well it would have survived, but it would have survived because the Skaven just screwed themselves. They wiped themselves out to a hilarious degree. Plus, with that much force from both factions, like, you know, the Greenskins would be able to manifest Idols of Gork, and they would, with that much power in their full armies, they would probably be able to outright just summon Gork and Mork into physical existence, which would be game over for the Skaven. You know, for the Skaven, if they combined all of their might, they would be lucky to summon some of the Shadow Council of 13, which are 12 Vermin Lords, who are ridiculously powerful. You can even look them up on the wiki or stuff like that, but you have Lurklocks, Screech Vermin King, those guys. There's a Pestilence one, but I can't remember what he's called at the moment. But, so no, I don't think the Skaven would stand a chance, honestly. In fact, I think, honestly, the only races, I'll say, that I think could combine and would stand a chance against the Greenskins would be if all of mankind united. So I'm talking Bretonnia, Tilia, Astalia, and the Empire, Kislev, and Araby, and Astalia, the Border Princes, Tilia. If they all put aside their differences and combined into just the nations of men, they could definitely go toe-to-toe with the Greenskins. And if Chaos full united, so Demons of Chaos put aside all their differences, got together, and then they would probably need to have like the Beastmen and the Warriors of Chaos so they could push the Realm of Chaos far enough where they could manifest. If the Demons of Chaos get involved, then yeah, it's a fair fight. But those are the only three super forces I think could do like a world-dominating scenario. The Elves, it's too few of them. Even if you combine the Wood Elves, High Elves, and Dark Elves, I think there's way too few of them to be a genuine world-dominating threat. So, there you go. Hopefully that answers that. And then today's last question comes from Hugh White, who asks, has Greenskin culture picked up any features from other races, such as the Empire or the Dwarves, besides learning how to make better armor and weapons? Oh, absolutely. Greenskins are very, very good at picking up little quirks or cultural habits based on the environment and the enemies they face on a very regular basis. But most of the time, it's minor stuff like superstitions, as opposed to like technological marvels or anything. And it's not so much that the Greenskins are actually learning anything, more of just because most Greenskin equipment comes from looting the dead of their enemy, they tend to constantly make all of their improvements in their technology or armor or tactics or whatever because of like the loot they're getting. They don't tend to change and adapt based on their opponents, in the sense that like the Savage Orcs of Lustria in the jungles are gonna fight the exact same as the Savage Orcs in the Badlands, but the Savage Orcs in Lustria might, on a much more regular basis, have higher quality weapons, or like poisoned weapons, or poisoned arrows, or stabas and choppas, because they tend to deal with a lot more poisonous creatures. And because their materials are going to be stolen or made from Lizardmen grade quality weapons, as opposed to just Greenskin and Dwarf quality weapons, or Tomb Kings, best case scenario, the Lustrian Savage Orcs are going to be a lot more dangerous. But, you know, and they might have quirks, like if you have Greenskins that tend to fight the Empire a lot, they are likely going to have very Imperial concepts of how to look based on the stuff they loot, so they might have a stronger tendency towards helmets or hats, and much more garish or over-the-top armor, assuming, of course, you're not talking about forest goblins, who are much like Savage Orcs in that they're very, they have very, like, backwards focused cultures, whereas if you're dealing with Greenskins that raid, say, Khaine, they're going to be their armor and a lot of their equipment and the way that they carry themselves will be much more based on their enemies. So they are shaped by other races, but a Greenskin is still a Greenskin. All they care about is fighting. All they care about is bashing your face in. Their fighting styles do not change from place to place unless it's a different species of Greenskin. So, like, you know, Night Goblins will fight differently than Forest Goblins, but Forest Goblins will fight the same as Forest Goblins from any forest. Unless, you know, it's just that their opponent only allows them to get away with one style of fighting, in which case they might lean a little more heavily towards that. But you could take Forest Goblins from any part of the world and put them all together and they would run just fine. So, hopefully that answers that. And that was today's last question. So, yeah, we got pretty close to 30 minutes. That's not too bad. Yeah, I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves and having a great day and are looking forward to the weekend coming up. Like I said, tomorrow is Friday, so tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday are the last days of the Greenskin Q&A. Tomorrow is going to be Greenskin relations towards other races. Then Saturday is going to be Greenskin special character questions, and then Sunday, which is the last episode, will be the differences between 40k Greenskins and fantasy Greenskins based on y'all's questions. And then I will reveal on Sunday who the upcoming Q&A series will be about, like what race it's going to be about. And I think a lot of people will be really excited because it's definitely a race that I think a lot of people don't know very well, just because they're kind of niche. So, and we haven't done them before. So there's your hint. So, in any event, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next Q&A. Bye, guys.